Okay.
Hello, everyone, and good afternoon for our info session on Fundraising Management Certificate for the fall 2026 term. My name is Mashur Chaudhry, and I am the Manager of Sales and Recruitment for the Chang School. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the land on which Toronto Metropolitan University is built upon. Toronto is in the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. I thank the Indigenous people of Turtle Island for their efforts to protect the land, and I deeply regret the past injustices they have endured. As Toronto Metropolitan University seeks to move forward in partnership with Indigenous peoples, I pledge to foster an environment that is more inclusive and welcoming of all communities. Now, I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's session. Your microphone is muted throughout the event so as not to disturb other attendees or the presenters. For the hearing impaired, we have automated captioning available, which you can access by activating it in the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. And you can submit your questions for today's speakers at any time by typing them into the question box of your control panel. We'll collect them throughout the session and address them during the Q&A portion. Now, I'd like to introduce our guest speakers for today. Joining us, we have Krishan Mehta, an advancement leader in higher education, who is the Vice President of University Advancement and Alumni Relations, and also the Academic Coordinator and Instructor for the Fundraising Certificate. And we have Michelle Hounslow, a Certified Fundraising Executive and Executive Director at University Advancement, and also an alumna of the course. We're excited to have them with us and look forward to their insights. And before we get started with the presentation, I'd like to do a quick poll with you all and just take a look at what motivated you to most consider the certificate and what is your current level of familiarity with the field. So for the first question, your options are career advancement, career change, skill building for current role, personal interest, and other. And for the second question, your options are high, where I'm well informed about the program, moderate, I have basic awareness about the program, or low, I have minimal or no prior knowledge, which is totally fine as well, because that's why we're here today. So we'll leave that on for just a couple of more seconds. Thank you once again for taking part in our poll. It's really helpful for us when you do that, and it provides feedback to us and our team. All right, so here are the results. It's pretty consistent with our other info sessions, career advancement and career change leading the way. And then we also have a few people looking to build their skills for their current role. And in terms of level of familiarity, we have 75% of the votes for moderate, or I have basic awareness of the field, and 25% for low, where I have no minimal or no prior knowledge. Okay, well, thank you again for taking part in that poll. Now I will invite Krishan Mehta to provide a brief overview of the certificate. Welcome, Krishan.
Great. Thank you very much, Mashur, and welcome everyone. Thank you for taking some time out today to learn more about the Fundraising Management Certificate Program at the Chang School. We've just put together a little agenda to ensure that we've covered all our bases. And we're going to begin momentarily with just some key highlights around the delivery details, the format, and of course, the costs. Then we'll go into some detail about who enrolls in this kind of program. You know, that poll that you just completed really helps us format this certificate to ensure that it meets with all of the various perspectives and experiences people bring to the table. So I'd like to spend a bit of time talking a bit about that with you. And then, of course, I would love to share with you some of the skills that you'll learn through the coursework that you'll complete in this program and how you may be able to apply that to fundraising practice in the not-for-profit and charitable sector. Then we'll look at the structure of the program and the requirements that are outlined in its completion towards the certificate. And then, of course, we'll talk a little bit about some of the benefits of being a Chang School student, academic advising, the networking opportunities, and of course, all of the support you'll get from not just the faculty in the program itself, but across the Chang School and TMU. And then we'll talk about how to contact us and if you have any further questions, how best to get in touch. Next slide, please. So, as you saw through the poll, there are lots of different kinds of interests and perspectives that people are bringing to the table. A lot of people are here to really delve deeper into the world of charitable giving and the role of fundraising, specifically in supporting very important causes that people stand behind. This course is fully online. It is meant for people who have other things going on in their lives, in addition to, of course, the a desire and commitment to professional development and growth. Several years ago, we fully redesigned this program to ensure that it met the needs of our learners today. So we have developed this course that is fully online. It's 5 courses and it's all asynchronous, which allows you to balance work and life commitments. What does asynchronous mean? It means essentially that you can take this course without any at your pace and your timing. So let's say you have a full-time job and the only time you have to go through the materials and to do the assignments and other parts of the curriculum or in the evening. That's or during the day for some folks who work in the evenings. You know, that's up that or even on weekends. That's something that you can fit into your already very busy schedules and we want to make sure that this program was designed for people who wanted to learn at their own pace as well. So as I mentioned, there's 5 courses. Each course takes anywhere between 2 and 5, 6 hours a week to go through the materials, complete the assignments. Sometimes there are little quizzes and tests that aren't necessarily for grading, but just to ensure that there's a reconciliation of the content with your knowledge throughout the course. So we say, that time usually fulfills on a basis your ability to complete the program with all of the other students. There are 13 weeks for each course. And so each course is divided up into modules. Usually those modules are a week long and they cover specific topics. And we'll go over that in more detail in a second. And then let's talk about the tuition. We did our best to make this super affordable. So over the course of for the 5 courses in total, we're looking at a range of $3,600 to $4,400. And we have a number of bursaries and scholarships available for our students, of course. You have a course that's about fundraising. Of course, we raised money for you to enjoy the benefits of the generosity of people who stand behind this program as well. So let's talk a bit about who takes this program. We have 3 real kind of broad categories of students. One is emerging professionals. These are individuals who are looking to step into the non-for-profit and fundraising world. Some people have had some experiences as volunteers in the fundraising world or in the charitable sector, and they really want to explore this as a true career path for themselves. There are people who are also career changers. We're seeing more and more folks enrolled in this certificate who've had completely different careers in different sectors, nursing, law, accounting, event management, you name it. People are coming with tremendous experiences in other fields and applying some of that work into fundraising. What's amazing about the fundraising sector is that it isn't just one job. It's a wide array of opportunities to take your expertise, whether that's in finance, for example, and apply that to fundraising, or relationship management, or database management, and apply that into the world of fundraising. We'll talk a bit more about that in detail in a moment. And then, of course, there are people who are really passionate about a cause. They are wanting to really sink their teeth into affecting change, whether that's in education or in healthcare or environmental sustainability or social justice, and are finding that they're turning to fundraising as a way to be able to make a significant contribution to a passion or a commitment that they want to get behind. And so we're seeing more and more students who are just really deeply committed to change and impact and wanting to learn more about the art and science of fundraising to be able to do that. So let's talk a little bit about the learning outcomes. What you'll see on this screen are just a series of highlights, really, about what you will get from the certificate. Of course, we start off with talking about the ethics of fundraising. This is the bedrock of the work, understanding the context in which we do this work and the ethical backbone. Every fundraiser who signs on to work in the field abides by a series of ethical frameworks and practices. And so it is important for you as an emerging professional and as a learner in this certificate to really get an understanding of the ethics behind the fundraising practice and sector. We'll also be looking at sometimes how those ethical frameworks are challenged and how they evolve depending on your context. And so we'll talk a little bit about that in a couple of the courses. Then we have an entire course based on data analytics, and I'll go into some detail about each course in a moment. But this is a really important and emerging area of practice for fundraisers. How do you make decisions based on the data you collect? What kind of data do you need to collect, and why do you need to collect it? And this is a really important way to be able to show efficacy to your donors, to charities, to volunteers, and even to governments. And so we created an entire course based on data analytics, which is a really exciting field for many fundraising professionals. Then we look at all of the different kinds of ways in which you can fundraise. Not all of it is based on like direct mail, which is, what you see in your mailbox when you come home from work. Some of it is around events. Some of it is around online giving. We have an entire module focused on innovations in giving, including the use of AI and gaming and lotteries. Of course, working with high net individuals, corporations for sponsorships, big donations, large naming opportunities is also covered. Then we talk about trends. I teach a course which starts in September, focused on current issues and emerging issues in fundraising. And this is an important uh, series of topics that we cover that really challenge the status quo, challenge best practice, think about new ways in which we're incorporating innovative ideas into the fun world of fundraising. And then, of course, an entire course dedicated to the operations of fundraising looks at financial management, operational management, reporting. When all brought together, this certificate provides a really in-depth 360 view of what it takes to be an excellent fundraiser and an effective fundraiser, specifically in different fields. And so, or if that can be applied to different fields, I should say. And so it's a really great program in that it allows you to be able to apply the art and science of fundraising across the sector. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned earlier, this is asynchronous, which means that it's based on your time. Obviously there's a structure to each course, but there are no live mandatory lectures that you need to attend at a specific time. So you log on when you can, you complete the materials or go through the materials, complete the assignments based on due dates that are outlined very clearly in each course. Usually, students take between a year and a half to complete the program. And we'll talk a little bit about the timelines because not every course is available every semester. So it requires a bit of planning. But that said, we've developed the course so that it's a bit of a carousel. You get on the carousel, you can take one course, and then you can go through every semester and take other courses. And to complete that process in total is about a year. But you can take a bit longer if you need to take a break or if you're able to double up and take more than one course at a time. And then, of course, what we are really excited about is the ways in which our assignments can help with your portfolio. So let's say you're looking for a new job and you want to show that you have experience in writing a case for support, for example, or a letter asking for donations from that you would perhaps send through the mail or by email or through social media. This program allows you to develop that portfolio, and that's a pretty powerful opportunity. Next slide, please. We don't need to go through this again. As I said, we have 5 courses, but there is a cumulative GPA that we ask students to have from high school. The entry point is very accessible, so we're very happy to have developed that so that people from all walks of life can join this program. Next slide, please. And then, of course, the Chang School offers a lot of really incredible services. Career advising is one amazing opportunity for you to take advantage of. And of course, this program is taught by instructors who are full-time fundraisers in the field. And so you're not only getting expertise from your instructors based on their professional experiences, but you're also able to tap into their networks. And we often have activities that allow for students and the instructors to connect informally, and more so, you can work with your professors on some informal career advising and mentorship as well. Everyone's up for that. And then, of course, the flexibility around the online learning process and availability is just really is uh, an effective way for adult learners to continue to invest in their own learning. And then, of course, as I mentioned, there are financial aid supports as well. So we're really we've designed this program for people who have uh, a true passion, but also want to marry that with career opportunity. So maybe what we'll do is I'll pass it off back to Masroor and Michelle to talk a little bit more about some of the other details. But one of the things as the academic coordinator I'm very committed to is ensuring that every question that you have about this program before you start, as you're in the program, and even in graduation is answered. And I'm your person for that, as well as the folks from the Chang School, of course. So please do reach out to me at any time. I'm happy to answer any question. And of course, I'm happy to welcome you into the program starting in just a few weeks. Mashur?
Amazing. Thank you so much, Christian, for that great overview. And you're so right. We're always here to help. So any questions you have, please reach out to the team or Christian and would be happy to answer them. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Michelle Hanslow, Executive Director at University Advancement and also a graduate of this certificate. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you, Mashroor, and thank you for having me here today. And Christian, thank you. It's great to see you. And I want to welcome everybody who's joining us today. It's great to see that you're interested in the Fundraising Management Certificate. I was where you were once, not too long ago. Just a little bit of my back history. I am a TMU alumna. My first degree was a Bachelor of Applied Arts. I took fashion at TMU. So I am in the same boat as those of you who answered the poll saying you're looking for a career change, as well as skill building at the time, because I really started my career from nothing. And I've been in my advancement role since 2015 at TMU, but I transitioned into fundraising over 15 years ago. It was 2010 when I got my first job. What that meant for me was I was really looking for a meaningful career. I like to say that I went from making t-shirts to making change in our community. It was really important for me, and I don't know if this will resonate with you, but I really wanted to support a cause and an organization that I'm passionate about. And I've had the opportunity to do that both through my career and my volunteer work in the nonprofit sector. Having a way to use my transferable skills was very important. And setting myself up in a career where I had an opportunity for career growth was also important. And like I mentioned, I started at an entry-level job back in 2010 when I was at the CAMH Foundation. And I truly credit the skills that I learned in the management and fundraising management certificate, as well as the network I developed as being a huge part of that. I did my certificate a while ago. I think I did it between 2010 and 2012. And just like what Christian was saying, I was working full time when I was doing it. So the flexibility was paramount. I think I even took the summer off because I wanted a summer off. It's great to have that flexibility. Also, because I was in the nonprofit sector, I was lucky enough to have a very supportive employer who contributed to my education and contributed to some of these courses. So always that can always be an option for people. And of course, Christian knows my story very well because he was one of my teachers when I took the certificate, and he's the one who hired me when I started at TMU in 2015. So for me, when I was making the career change, I truly believed then and have proven it now that education equaled job opportunity for me. And I um, want to be a lifelong learner, and which is great to have the Chang School on campus as well. So I have taken my CFRE, which stands for Certified Fundraising Executive. It's just always taking chances to learn more and to build your skills. But the certificate itself will definitely help you grow your knowledge of the sector, also of practices in the sector. There's newness added to the programs all the time. And to me, what was really important was to build my network because I didn't know anyone or anything about the nonprofit sector when I decided to take the certificate and consider the career change. So, in my eyes, all of this increases your employability. It does demonstrate a commitment to the field and to learning because now, as a hiring manager, I do see that a strong knowledge base is evident in candidate interviews, definitely. And the certificate definitely helps to strengthen your resume. People notice it. Um, so, just to talk really quickly about the program, I know it's been a while since I've been a part of it, but because I know the people who are now involved as instructors in the program, and of course, Christian, who I report to at TMU, just the opportunity to learn from senior nonprofit professionals is incredible. Um, I know you're going to be doing this. When I took the course, it was partially in person and partially virtual. And I know the program's online, but these are real people on your screen. You're going to absolutely have an opportunity to build your personal and professional networks. Some of the students who I met both in person and online over a decade ago, I still stay in touch with. And it's very helpful to have friends and colleagues in the industry when you're looking, for advice on things or being able to even just help your peers and colleagues to navigate their own careers. And really, the certificate did help prepare me for a number of roles that I've done. I've worked in everything from prospect research into database overhauling and data analytics, proposal writing. And now, of course, I'm centered on major gift and principal gift fundraising. But all of that is part of the course. That bedrock is there in these courses, and I it really can't say enough about how it did prepare me, and not just prepare me, it gave me the confidence to really launch into this career. It also gave me the skills I needed to make change in my volunteer life. For 10 years, I had the role of director of fundraising at the High Park Nature Center. And I wouldn't have been able to come in at that level and be able to do what I did there without having some of these experiences. So, um, I wish you luck. I think just take one course even and just jump in and see what you think. There's nothing like that to get a feeling for it, and I think you're gonna love it. And that's it for me.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I wrote down that first sentence, one of the first things that you said, from making t-shirts to making change. I love that. And thank you so much
Thanks.
for sharing your story. Really shows how you can always pivot into something when you take that decision and take the leap. And that's really inspiring for you to share with us. And also really great points about, all the things that you've learned and the network that you were able to grow through the certificate. So yeah, thank you to both Krishan and Michelle, not just for sharing your individual journeys, but also for showing how powerful this community really is. The fact that you connected through the Chang School, through this certificate, and are now colleagues just is a testament to the strength of the Chang School community and the support system that we're proud to offer every step of the way. And like you said, right, just take one course and try it out, and then you'll be able to know if this is something for you or not. So
I
thank you
have
to
a
both of our speakers for sharing that. This concludes the presentation portion of the session, and we'll now open the floor to Q&A. So please go ahead and submit your questions by typing them into the question box of the control panel, and we'll answer them chronologically. Okay, so yeah, first questions in already. What does a typical course involve? Is it mostly theory, or are there practical projects and real world cases involved?
Sure, that's a great question, and thank you for asking it. The courses are designed to really bring together the art and science of fundraising. So what we have in each course are practical case studies and examples, readings that are available, and videos that are available on the actual practice of fundraising, as well as the assignments. As I mentioned earlier, the assignments are really designed for you to be able to practice and to test out some ideas in the world of fundraising. So, for example, in one course, you're actually filling out a 33010, which is the tax return for charitable organizations, so that when you go into an organization or asked to do that, you have experience in doing that. You're asked to write a case for support, which is really telling the story of need to the community that you're working with about and the mission of your organization. You will learn about the art and science of event management because and volunteer management. And you'll be able to write you'll have the opportunity to write, for example, a volunteer job description for fundraising. So it really offers the practical tools through the online coursework, as well as the opportunity to be able to work with others in your cohort, classmates of yours, on specific assignments. Because that interaction is, we learn from the material, we learn from the instructor, and we learn from one another. And so some of the courses have some great opportunities for you to be able to share ideas and exchange notes with students through the discussion board, through small group work assignments, and the rest. So that's what you'll learn. One thing, Michelle, you brought up that I think is really important as well is the ways in which this program supports the CFRE. And the CFRE is the Fundraising Management Executive designation that if students want to pursue that, each of these courses count towards the education points required to even write the exam. And so this is a really great way for you to get those points to be able to apply for the CFRE. And that's something that students who have at least 3 years of fundraising experience can apply for, and you can use these credits towards that, which is a really great bonus point opportunity for you. And of course, taking all of that knowledge into an account for is really important. I speak with lots of hiring managers in the fundraising world, especially in Canada. And what they've told me from the graduates who come from this program is that they're ready. They have at least 5 years worth of skills development, work experience, equivalency. So they're jumping into jobs that where they're really excelling quickly because they have the background in the theory and practice in fundraising. They're able to talk in a deep way about the future directions of fundraising, and that's really important. And most importantly, this is a career path that's certainly on a growth trajectory. In Toronto alone, there are currently $10 billion worth of campaigns out there. All of these organizations are hiring qualified fundraising professionals to support that fundraising mission. And so it's a really interesting and exciting time to be in fundraising, and the job opportunities are growing by leaps and bounds. month by month. Just go on LinkedIn or Charity Village or else, other online platforms, even the TMU job boards, and you'll see opportunities for growth and career advancement.
Amazing. Thank you for that answer. That was really comprehensive and covered pretty much all the bases about what the courses cover. Next question is, what industries or types of organizations hire graduates from this program? And yeah, you can start with this, and Michelle, maybe you can also chime in.
Yeah, so some of our grads are now leading fundraising organizations. They're leading organizations in healthcare, in education. They have senior roles in environmental sustainability charities, in social justice charities, and some have even started their own consultancies where they're supporting large number of charities in setting up an organization. Some people are using it to really refine their fundraising work as volunteers. And I know, Michelle, you used to do that for an organization as well. And so, there are many sectors in which fundraising is critical to the success of the missions of these organizations. And so, it's really about where you want to marry your professional interests and your personal passions and commitments to change.
Christian, you mentioned checking job boards. And I just want to, for anybody who wants to get a flavor for the types of jobs that are out there, there's a lot. I mean, when I go back about 20 years ago, there were very few places you could find the jobs. They were Charity Village was one, which can be quite grassroots, but also include some larger organizations like the university. And there's the Association of Fundraising Professional Job Boards, which is very tailored to professional careers in fundraising and fundraising management. And I think, but now you can fundraising jobs are everywhere. You can go on Indeed. You can just kind of give yourself some time to Google and have a look, and you can see what's out there. And there truly is a lot of opportunity.
So yeah, I love that. Okay, next question is from Ariana. Chris, thank you for your question. The question is, are there some of the five courses, are there some of the five courses better suited to be taken simultaneously as opposed to one at a time?
Yeah, great question. So, as I mentioned earlier, it's like kind of getting on a carousel and then going through the journey. So, every semester, so there are 3 terms, you could take fundraising, Introduction to Fundraising. That's CINT 916. That's the course code. It's called Introduction to Fundraising. That's usually offered every semester. This fall, the Operations of Fundraising course, that's CVFM 201 and current issues that CVFM 202 are offered this fall. And what we've tried to do is create consistency. So our plan is to always have those in the fall. In the winter term is the data analytics course, that's CVFM 205. And that is usually offered every January for the winter term. And then in the spring term, we will have the fundraising strategies and practices course. That's CVFM 304. So if you get on the carousel this fall, you have the opportunity to take 3 courses: Intro, CINT 916, CVFM 201, that's Operations of Fundraising, and the course that I'm teaching, which is CVFM 202, that's Current Issues in Fundraising. That could be a lot. People have done it before, but you can also take the 2 CVFM courses and take CINT later, because that is offered more frequently throughout the year. So the Chang School website and it has the details as to when these courses are being offered. And so you'll be able to kind of do a bit of planning on your own. And of course, I'm available to provide some guidance based on what you have going on in your life in terms of commitment, in terms of scheduling, and of course, any other questions you may have around just planning out your journey in the certificate.
Brilliant. No, thank you so much for that. Okay, next question, moving on, is with nearly 15 years in donor relations stewardship, including operations, events, HR, and writing. Is this program a good fit for someone who's transitioning into fundraising? So yeah, maybe both of you can touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Like one of the opportunities that we have available for the students is not just about transition into fundraising, but also learning from one another with people with lots of experience, mentoring and teaching and learning from those who really want to develop their network. And so, one of the things that we established several years ago is a LinkedIn group specifically for students and alumni of this program as a way to build an online community for people who are practicing what they've learned in this program and sharing their knowledge way beyond graduation. And it's a really amazing way also for people to keep in touch, but as well as continuously share new ideas, interesting things that are happening in the world of fundraising, some of the controversial things that we all need to learn about and perhaps learn from or learn to avoid. Um, that we share offline through the LinkedIn group. And right now we have 800 members, which is one of the largest LinkedIn groups for the fundraising management educational world. And so I moderate that chat, and it's a really great way to also share emerging job opportunities. So for anyone who has experience, this is a great way to also build your network. For those of you who want to learn about the skills piece, it's also a great way for you to learn from not just the course, but it's people.
I'm just gonna put a link of the LinkedIn group in the chat so that everybody can check it out. But thank you so
And
much
I'm
for.
just going to add something really quickly to that because 15 years, that's some great experience. But and you've probably worked around a lot of fundraisers. But if you're wanting to transition into that type of role yourself, I think what would be great about even just starting and taking some of these courses is that you can now start to work through your assignments through that lens of being a fundraiser, and it really lets you test out your skills in a new way and ask different types of questions to the class and to the instructors. So it was helpful to me to be able to gain my confidence and see what I was good at and maybe what I wanted to work on a little bit more too.
It's also a really cathartic way to like kind of apply knowledge. So in the course that I teach, for example, I often say like the assignments are about drawing on your experiences, you know, uh, talk about some of the ethical challenges that you think you've experienced or that you would do differently, if you had the knowledge that you have based on module 4, for example. So, it's a great way to just kind of further reflect on all of the skills that you have or you bring to bear to a potential opportunity in fundraising.
That's also a great point. Yeah, thank you. Okay, next one is from Morgan Potter. Thank you for your question. Can you talk a little bit about a little more about the how the certificate contributes towards the CFRE? Also, I know it was mentioned who the certificate is for, but is there anyone it's not for? So I think the answer is no, it's for anyone. But yeah, if you can expand on that a little bit.
Well, as I mentioned, the CFRE is the certification that many fundraisers pursue as a designation for that demonstrates a level of proficiency and excellence in fundraising management. And these courses offer the educational points that you can count towards applying for the CFRE, which is really important in order to be able to take the exam. Michelle holds the CFRE, so Michelle, you might have some insights into how that works for you or how that worked for you.
Yeah, definitely. So to do your CFRE exam, you have to have a certain level of hours in the industry and education points. And especially once, I was grateful to have had this certificate because your education points last for a certain number of years. But Christian, do they still do prep courses for
Yep.
CFRA? Yeah. So I took those through the Chang School program. When I was prepping for my CFRE, they have some formalized prep courses. It's a significant amount of study that you have to do to prepare yourself for the exam. So not only does it give you the certificate courses themselves, give you the background knowledge and the points that you may need to add up to enough points to write the exam, you can access support. And it really was helpful to me to be able to take and hear how how people think through those questions.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good resource that you can access and leverage for if you're interested in the CFRE. So thanks for mentioning that. Okay, next question is, I remember attending the info session last year and the course structure was slightly different. How was the program changed compared to previous years, and how does the current structure better meet students' needs?
Well, there haven't been that many changes since last year. But that said, we have made a few improvements. So, few things that we've done. For example, right now we are integrating content about disruption, specifically around artificial intelligence and the ethics of artificial intelligence. I know there's a question coming up about that. So, this course really does begin to start thinking about how AI is ethically applied in fundraising settings, but also some of the challenges ahead of us as it relates to the evolution of AI um, and other mod technological innovations throughout our sector. The question around also the timetabling is important. So we've really done, I think, we've had time to really look at our offerings and when they are delivered, and we're doing our best to be consistent so that we're not offering courses that, if you get on the carousel, that you have to skip a whole semester or year so that in order for you to be able to take that next course. So we're doing our best to be very consistent around delivery, and that also allows for us to ensure that we have enough students in each class so that we're not having to postpone or cancel or defer a course. So this there's a lot of great predictability about when courses are available so that you can do advanced planning. And that's something that we've really worked on um, over the years, and I think we've got it right.
All right. So yeah, I know we are closing in on our time, but maybe the both of you can answer this. I know it's a hot topic on every session that we host. It's how is AI changing fundraising or donor engagement?
Sure, I can maybe start with this, and maybe Michelle, you could talk a little bit about how you're using it or not using it. Um, but I have to say that, at TMU, we have embraced several AI tools to make our work more effective or efficient. And I would say that while there are challenges, there are also tremendous opportunities. What is really important, what I'm hearing from employers, is that it isn't replacing fundraising practice. Jobs are still abounding, even with AI. And it's about the effective use of AI to analyze data, to be able to communicate effectively, to be able to also think ethically about its integration into fundraising practice. AI, in my mind, is a tool that should be used for good, and this is a great place to be able to experiment with that. That said, it's also a place where a lot of fundraising practice is being challenged because new models are, in the blink of an eye, being evolving such that people are very concerned about its use. And some donors don't like it when they can sniff out something that's been a thank you letter that's been written by a chatbot. or by ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or whatever. So we have to really think about the ethics of its practical application in the work because we want to do well, serve our organizations well, perhaps using these tools, but also understand the limitations to that as well, and the real risks associated with that. So we cover that in this program.
You said that very well, Christian. I think I
Thanks.
should take your course.
Yeah, it's a new module or it's a new set of kind of themes that we're integrating. But as you can imagine, the world of AI is changing day by day, month by
Yeah.
month. So it's really kind of keeping ahead of it or keeping
Yeah.
a pace with it. That's going to be key.
But for anybody who's worried, nobody's talking to AI on the phone yet, or going for lunch yet, or having coffee yet with AI people. So it's still up to us to handle those relationships with care.
That's really well said, Michelle. Absolutely.
Love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. A big thank you to both Christian and Michelle for sharing your valuable insights today. Thanks also to Dave, Randall, and Daniel for ensuring everything ran smoothly behind the scenes. And of course, thank you to all of you for attending the time and taking the time to join our session today. For more information about the certificate presented, please visit our website at continuing.torontomu.ca. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me at mash.chowdhury at torontomu.ca. So that's mash.chaudhry at torontomu.ca. All of the details that we've shared and a recording of this session will be sent to you in a follow-up email with the survey within the next 24 to 48 hours. And on behalf of the Chang School and all of our presenters and guest speakers, thank you so much for joining us today and have a great rest of the day. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.